Hi, it's storyteller Mitch. I'm continuing Queer by William S. Burroughs. When they arrived at the KC Steakhouse, Moore was already there. With him he had Tom Williams, another Salt Lake City boy. He thought, he brought along a chaperone. I like the guy, Tom, but I can't stand to be alone with him. He keeps trying to go to bed with me. That's what I don't like about queers. You can't keep it on a basis of friendship. Yes, we could hear that conversation. During dinner, Moore and Williams talked about a boat they planned to build in Zihuatanejo. Lee thought it was a silly project. Boat building is a job for a professional, isn't it? Lee asked. Moore pretended not to hear. After dinner, Lee walked back to Moore's rooming house with Moore and Williams. At the door, Lee asked, "Would you gentlemen care for a drink? I'll get a bottle." He looked from one to the other. Moore said, "Well, no, you see, we want to work on the plans for this boat we are going to build." "Oh," said Lee. "Well, I'll see you tomorrow. How about meeting me for a drink in the Rathskeller? Today, say around 5. "Well, I expect I'll be busy tomorrow." "Yes, but you have to eat and drink." "Well, you see, this boat is more important to me than anything right now. I'll take up all my time. It will take up all my time." Lee said, "Suit yourself," and walked away. Lee was deeply hurt. He could hear Morris saying, "Thanks for running interference, Tom. Well, I hope he got the good idea." Lee was deeply hurt. He could hear Moore saying, "Thanks for the running interference, Tom. Well, I hope he got the idea. Of course, Lee is an interesting guy and all, but this queer situation is just more than I could take." Tolerant, looking at both sides of the question, sympathetic up to a point, finally forced to draw a tactful but firm line. And he really believes that, Lee thought. Like that crap about building up his wife's ego. He can revel in the satisfactions of virulent bitchiness and simultaneously see himself as a saint. Quite a trick. Actually, Moore's brush-off was calculated to inflict the maximum hurt possible under the circumstances. It put Lee in the position of a detestably insistent queer, too stupid and too insensitive to realize that his attentions were not wanted, forcing Moore to the distasteful necessity of drawing a diagram. He leaned against the lamppost for several minutes, and the shock had sobered him, drained away his drunken euphoria. He realized how tired he was and how weak, but he was not ready to yet go home. Chapter 2. Everything made in this country falls apart, Lee thought. He was examining the blade of his stainless steel pocket knife. The chrome plating was peeling off like a silver paper. Would it surprise me if I picked up a boy in the Alameda and in his? Here comes Honest Joe. Joe Gidry sat down at the table with Lee, and dropping bundles on the table and in the empty chair, he wiped off the top of the beer bottle with his sleeve and drank half the beer in a long gulp. He was a large man with a politician's red Irish face. "What you know?" Lee asked. "Not much, Lee, except someone stole my typewriter and I know who took it. It was that Brazilian or whatever he is. You know him, Maurice." "Maurice, is that the one you had last week, the wrestler?" "You mean Louis, the gym instructor?" "No, this is another one. Louis has decided all that sort of thing is very wrong, and he tells me that I'm going to burn in hell. But he is going to heaven." "Serious?" "Oh, yes." "Well, Maurice is as queer as I am," Joe belched. "Excuse me if not queerer. but he won't accept it. I think stealing my typewriter is the way he takes to demonstrate to me and to myself that he is just in it for all he can get. As a matter of fact, he's so queer I've lost interest in him. Not completely, though. Would I see the little bastard, I'll most likely invite him back to my apartment instead of beating the shit out of him like I should. Lee tipped his chair back against the wall and looked around the room. Someone was writing a letter at the table. If he had overheard the conversation, he gave no sign. The proprietor was reading the bullfight section of the paper, spread out on the counter in front of him. A silence peculiar to Mexico seeped into the room. A vibrating, soundless hum. Joe finished his beer, wiped his mouth with the back of his hand, and stared at the wall with his watery, bloodshot blue eyes. The silence seeped into Lee's body, and his face went slack and blank. The effect was curiously spectral, as though he could see through his face. The face was ravaged and vicious and old, but the clear green eyes were dreamy and innocent. His light brown hair was extremely fine and would not stay combed. Generally, it fell down across his forehead, and on occasion brushed the food he was eating or got in his drink. "Well, I have to be going," said Joe. He gathered up his bundles and nodded to Lee, bestowing on him one of his sweet politician smiles, and walked out. His fuzzy half-bald head outlined for a moment in the sunlight before it disappeared from view. Lee yawned and picked up a comic section from the next table. It was 2 days old. He put it down and yawned again. He got up and paid for his drink and walked out into the late afternoon sun. He had no place to go, so he went over to Sears' magazine counter and read the new magazines for free. He cut back past the KC Steakhouse. Bar beckoned to him from inside the restaurant. Lee went in and sat down at his table. "You look terrible," he said. He knew that it was what Moore wanted to hear. As a matter of fact, Moore did look worse than usual. He had always been pale. Now he was yellowish. The boat project had fallen through. Moore and William's wife Lil were back from Zihuatanejo. Moore was not on speaking terms with the Williamses. Lee ordered a pot of tea. Moore started talking about Lil. "You know, Lil ate the cheese down there. She ate everything and never got sick. She won't go to a doctor. One morning she woke up blind in one eye and she could barely see out the other. But she wouldn't have a doctor. In a few days she could see again, good as ever. I was hoping she'd go blind." Lee realized Moore was perfectly serious. "He's insane," Lee thought. Moore went on about Lil. She had made advances to him. Of course, he had paid more than his fair share of rent and food. She was a terrible cook. They had left him there sick. He shifted to the subject of his health. "Just let me show you my urine test," Moore said with a boyish enthusiasm. He spread a piece of paper out on the table. Lee looked at it without interest. "Look here," Moore pointed. "Urea 13. Normal is 15 to 22. Is that serious, do you think?" "I'm sure I don't know." "And traces of sugar. What does the whole picture mean?" Moore obviously considered the question of intense interest. "Why don't you take it to a doctor?" "I did. He said he would have it in he would have to take a 24-hour test, that is, samples of urine over a 24-hour period, before he could express any opinion. You know, I have a dull pain in the chest, right here. I wonder if it could be tuberculosis." "Take an x-ray." "I did. The doctor is going to take a skin reaction test. Oh, another thing. I think I have an undulant fever. Do you think I have a fever now?" He pushed his forehead toward Lee to feel. Lee felt an earlobe. "I don't think so," he said. Moore went on, following the circular route of the true hypochondriac, back to tuberculosis and the urine test. Lee thought he had never heard anything as tiresome and depressing. Moore did not have tuberculosis or kidney trouble or an undulant fever. He was sick with the sickness of death. Death in every cell of his body. He gave off a faint greenish steam of decay. He imagined he would glow in the dark. Moore talked with boyish eagerness. "I think I need an operation." Lee said he really had to go.